All right, so today we are starting with the foundations of economics. So we just start from the foundations and then hopefully let's move into advanced stage. Okay. So
Okay.
as we move on, in case you have any question, you can pause me at any time. Then we explain those ones as well.
No problem.
All right, so let's get started. So by the time we finish with this particular topic, one, we should be able to define what economics is. Of course, if you want to know any study area, you have to actually understand what that study is actually about. So we have to define what economics is, and then we look at some of the questions that economists try to answer. Of course, if we are unable to answer any question, then we don't see the importance of actually studying economics. We'll try to look at some of those questions too. And then try to also explain the kinds of questions that define the economic way of thinking. When you are doing philosophy, you should understand the philosophical way of thinking. So if it's maths you are doing, you need to understand the mathematical way of thinking. So in economics too, we have to know how we have to think economically. Okay. So first, we'll begin by looking at the definitions and then the questions. Okay, the questions that we'll try to answer as we go through all the lectures. Okay. Now,
Okay.
fundamentally, why do we even need economics? Why should we try to answer economic questions? Now, we try to answer them because they do exist. But why do we have economic questions that we have to answer? The fundamental answer is that it's because of scarcity. The resources that we have to satisfy our unlimited wants is very limited. Okay, we are all faced with limited resources. You can try to argue that we have people that are very rich. They have a lot of money, a lot of resources. Scarcity is very different from poverty. Okay, right now, if we have to be asked, have we been able to actually fulfill all our goals? We will say no. No one will actually be able to finish everything before we exit this world. So even if you take something as rich as maybe Bill Gates, they also have their challenges that they face. They are not poor. They have money. They have all the resources that they need. But you can even see that no matter how rich you are constrained by time. Okay, you cannot have more than 24 hours in a day. So that is also, time is one of the most important resources that we have on earth. So it doesn't really matter the amount of money that you have. You are still constrained by time. So we try to raise economic questions because the resources that we have to satisfy our wants, our goals, our desires, the aspirations that we have, very limited. Okay, if we had all the resources that we need to satisfy all the wants that we have, then we don't even need to study economics. Whatever need we have, just use the resources to satisfy them. But then those resources are scarce. So the fundamental issue, the underlying thing in economics is scarcity. Okay, and what exactly is scarcity? The insufficiency of resources to satisfy our wants. Okay, so per this definition, we have scarcity. That is a condition that arises because our wants exceeds the ability of the resources to satisfy them. The resources that we have are not enough to satisfy our unlimited wants. That's the paradox. Our wants are unlimited, but then the resources that we use to satisfy them are rather limited, which means that we are always faced with the issue of scarcity. So we are here today studying econs because of this concept, because of scarcity. And now, because of the scarcity that we face, we have to make choices. Our wants are many. Okay, you have to go to school, pay your tuition fees, you have to buy a car, buy a home, do this and that and that. But the resources that you have wouldn't be able to cater for all these ones. So you have to choose from the alternatives, the ones that you have now. If you cannot actually satisfy them, or it means you have to select some. You buy something and leave the other. So because of scarcity, we always have to make a choice. Always. And choice is just picking or choosing among available alternatives. Okay, so we have more than one, but then the resources that we have cannot satisfy all those ones. So we have to actually make choices. But then whatever choice that we make depends on the incentives that we face. Incentives are triggers that will either encourage or discourage you from taking an activity or making a choice. You want to select something. What are the things that are encouraging you? If you want to do more of something, what is encouraging you to do more? If you want to do less, what is discouraging you from doing less? Those are what we call the incentives. So basically, the choices that we make will be based on the incentives that we face. Okay, and we have choice making all because of what? Scarcity. All right. I hope that is okay.
Yes, please.
All right. So let's look at the definition. How do we define a cause? There are quite a number of definitions. I think the first one was by Adam Smith, and he defined a cause as an inquiry into the causes and then the nature of wealth of nations. We don't normally use that one. The most popular one is the one by Professor Lionel Robbins. He defined a cause as a social science that studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means, which have alternative uses. So cons try to study how the economic units behave. When we talk about economic units, we are talking about individuals like us, consumers, households, and then firms or businesses, and then the government. Okay, so how do we behave? I mean, in the face of scarcity, and then how do we satisfy our wants, the ends that we have, the means that we have, how do we use them to satisfy those ones? Right, this book is defining the cons as a social science. Okay, that studies the choices that the economic units make. That's the individuals, businesses, and then the government. And then the choices that the entire society make as we cope with scarcity. So our resources are scarce. We have insufficient resources. So, I mean, as we are trying to meander our lives through scarcity, what are the choices that we make? Econs try to study those choices, okay? And then what are the incentives? What actually triggers those choices? Okay, we have scarcity, we have to make choices. What are the things, the factors that actually encourages or discourages us to make those choices? And then are there any structured arrangements that actually coordinate these choices? Okay, so basically that is what economics is about. We are constantly making economic choices. So we have to study how we make these choices, okay, because of scarcity, and then the impact of these choices too on our economic life. So basically, that is what economics is about. Okay. Now, broadly speaking, econs is divided into two parts. We have the micro aspect, and then we have the macro one. Okay, basically for the micro, we are talking about the choices that are made by individuals and then businesses. So these ones, we are talking about what we are doing individually, okay, and how the government impact these choices that we make. So this one, we are not interested in the actual impact of our choices on the economy and even the world at large. So these are just individual choices. A consumer is making a choice as to the kind of product or service that he has to buy. A firm, a business is making a choice as to the kind of good that he has to produce, the quantity that he has to produce, and then how the government actually comes in deciding these choices. Okay, so that's just the micro. But then for macro, we are talking about the effect, the total effect of these small choices that the individual economic units make, okay, on the economy, the national economy, and even the world's economy at large. Definitely, whatever an individual does actually affects the whole that the individual finds himself in. In economics, we call those things externalities. Okay, what I am doing is producing something that I don't cater for, or something that I don't even enjoy from. We have positive externalities and the negative externalities. If you take Ghana as an example, we see that recently they were talking about this illegal mining. Now, those mining firms were doing things for their own self-interest. They want to get profit, okay? But it was having a larger impact on the economy. They were destroying our water bodies, okay? That is a negative externality, and they don't pay for that, okay? They don't pay for that. They are doing it in their selfish interest, and we are suffering. But then there are some economic activities where some choices that are made by the individual economic units that produce positive externalities. For example, just a simple one, maybe I have a house and then I've done this small garden with a nice scenery. People pass by and they admire it. They don't pay for what they are seeing, but then it's something that they enjoy. It's possible that someone might be very angry. The person is passing by because he saw that beautiful thing. It has taken the anger away. It's a positive externality. So the macro one tries to look at how the choices that are being made by the individual economic units impact the entire economy. Okay, how it impacts the entire economy. All right, so these are the, but then if you go into it, we have different branches. This is just the two parts. We have branches in economics: financial economics, managerial economics, banking. We can talk about international economics, where we just talk about international trade. We have public finance. I mean, quite a lot. Health economics and all that, but it doesn't matter the branch. The branch will fall under one of these two parts. Okay, if you take something like international accounts is basically under macro. We are looking at how countries are trading and its impact on the world's economy. But if you take something like industrial economics, it's basically about firms and production. So that one falls under micro. Okay, so but then broadly speaking, we divide the points into microeconomics. Okay. I hope that's fine. Are we together? Hello? Hello? All right, so we said we'll be looking at definition and then questions. So let's look at these two economic questions, okay? Now, the first one is that how do choices determine what to produce? How to produce those goods and services, and then for whom those goods and services are supposed to be produced for. Now, talking about what to produce, we are talking about what type of good or service are we supposed to produce. Okay, and collectively we call goods and services commodities. Okay, the goods are the ones that are tangible. Okay, the ones that we can actually feel, and then services are like actions that people provide for others: banking, insurance, tourism, and those ones. So these economic choices that the economic units are making. Okay, how do those choices determine the kind of good and service that we have to produce? How do we produce them? What kind of production method are we using? Are we using more labor, or we are using more machines? That is a question that economics tries to answer. And then if you take the entire population, there are some goods that are not produced, or they are not meant for all the people. Okay, when you want to produce something, you need to select a target market. There are things produced for just infants. Okay, there are things that are produced for the aged. So these are questions that economists will have to answer before we produce if you take a country, for example, a country A, and then the total population is like 10 million, and the aged should be around 8 million. Infants are just 2 million. And we are producing baby diapers, and we are producing like 500 million baby diapers. We are just wasting resources. Okay, so econs should come in there, know, the target market, and then we should know the quantity that we have to produce, so that, and know the particular people that we are producing the goods for, so that we don't waste resources. Economics is about managing resources. So we always have to try not to overproduce or underproduce whatever good or service that we are producing. So that's the first question that econs try to answer. And also, when the choices made in self-interest also promote the social interest. So as I was saying, the externality issue. Now, maybe in the course of your economic life, you read public finance, so you dive deeper into externalities. People make decisions in pursuit of their self-interest. Okay, but definitely it will have an impact on the society. So when they make choices, that will at least give them their personal fulfillment. How do those choices also affect the entire society? It's possible it will positively impact the society. It's also possible that it will negatively impact the society. So how do we also understand that? Okay. So the first question was about the what, the how, and then for whom. Okay. So as I said earlier, the what deals with the kind of goods and services that we have to produce. The goods are just the objects, the physical ones that we can touch, but then services are just the actions. And all these things, the commodities are produced to satisfy human wants. Okay. If you want to produce something, before you can get profit from it, it has to satisfy a particular one. You can't just produce something that we don't need. No one is going to buy it. Okay, but we give something up before we get the good or the service. So, what kind of good and service are we supposed to actually produce? And of course, we have to know the quantities. Now we know we have to produce this particular good. What is the quantity that we have to produce, so that we don't actually waste resources? And then the how. Okay, what kind of technology are we using? Are we going for capital intensive? Are we going for labor intensive? We have to answer those. And then the for whom, I think I spoke about this. So the target market, which group among us will actually benefit from that particular good? Okay, so these are questions that economists try to answer. And then the when is the pursuit of self-interest in social interest. Okay, when people make their own choices for their own satisfaction, will it actually impact the entire society? Now, if you are doing something, okay, if you make a choice, that will give you the best results that you are looking for. That is being done in the self-interest. Okay, but then if you do it and then the entire society is going to benefit from it, then that choice was made social interest. So when will choices made in self-interest actually have an impact on the entire society? Let's use this concept to actually explain that. Now let's look at international trade. Now countries are enjoying goods and services that would have never been produced in their countries. Without international trade, Africa would have still been in darkness. We couldn't have even met. You can imagine us walking barefooted and then riding horses. I mean, still, we should still be doing that. But because of international trade, now we have access to goods and services that we can't even produce here. So now, these goods and services that are being produced in, are you there? All right, so I was saying that we were going to use some concepts to explain how choices that are made in pursuit of self-interest actually have impact on the entire society. Now, if you take international trade, as I was saying, now countries are enjoying goods and services that are not produced in their domestic land. Okay, if you take a country like Ghana, I even doubt we produce laptops in Ghana. But today is a laptop I'm using. So without a laptop, I mean, we couldn't have met. Now, there are individual economic units, firms, businesses that produce these laptops. Even Zoom, the Zoom that we are using, is just a group of people that have formed a firm. And they produce Zoom, okay? They did it in pursuit of their self-interest. They wanted to get profit, yes, fine. But then we are all benefiting. During the COVID time, I think this app became the most popular app on the internet. But people were using it, people were not going to work, and they were all using Zoom. So you can see that they did it for their, self-interest, but then the entire world has also benefited. So this is causing a positive externality. People, the examples can just go on and on and on. Okay, so it's yes, there are cases where individual economic units will actually make choices in self-interest, but then it will have an impact on the entire economy as a whole. So all these are examples of things that people produce because of profit, but then now we are all enjoying. Okay, now we are all enjoying. So that is one. The information age. Now, whatever information you want, you just go to the internet, you get whatever you want. Those who were developing all those, they were doing it for their self-interest, but now we are all benefiting. So this one too is causing a positive externality. Now, if we look at this guy, look at the kind of machines we are using now and the kind of energy we are burning, and it's having an adverse impact on the ozone layer. So people are doing those things, driving cars, heavy duty machines and all that, so that they will get whatever satisfaction that they want. But then it's having a negative impact on the whole world. Okay, as the ozone layer is being destroyed, it's a concern for us all. So there are some of the choices that we make, and those ones, they actually have a positive impact on the society. Some too do have a negative impact on the society. Let's look at this last one, the social security time bomb. Just assuming that we have a lot of people moving into their retirement age. Now, all these people, they have to be paid social security. Most of the times, these securities are paid by taxes. Well, if we have to vote on this, what money should we use to pay these people? I mean, people will vote that we should use taxes. Most people will vote because they will be benefiting from it. And their vote will be in pursuit of their self-interest. But what is going to be the impact on the entire economy? Now, we'll have to start increasing taxes. If we have a lot of people going on retirement, we have to pay more. So we have to increase our taxes. And who is going to pay for the tax? It's even possible that people who wouldn't benefit from it will be paying the tax. And if we don't take our time, it's even possible that even this generation wouldn't be able to finish paying all that. The next generation will come and pay something that they didn't enjoy. You see, so there are some choices that we make that do have positive impact on the society, but some too, they do have a negative impact. It's possible that choices that we make in pursuit of self-interest can actually cause a societal interest. At times too, it's rather in the negative sense. Okay. All right. Any questions so far?
Clear.
All right. Now let's look at the economic way of thinking. We will start by looking at some economic ideas. Now, the first one is that whatever choice that we make, we should see it as a trade-off. Okay, whenever you make a choice, it means you are taking something instead of another thing. You sacrifice something before you get another thing. Right now, we are having a lecture. Okay, you are sacrificing your time for something else. I mean, you could have used this time to do something else, but then you are here. You sacrifice something. So whatever choice that you make, You should see it as a trade-off. Okay, we'll look at that. And then people also make rational choices. Okay, people make rational choices. So I mean, if we can say that people make rational choices, then it's also possible that people make irrational choices. So when would we call a choice rational? We will look at that. And then before you can actually make a rational choice, you have to compare your benefits to your cost. The choice that you are making, what will be the benefit, what will be the cost. And the benefit is what you gain from that choice making. If it's an activity you are undertaking, the benefit that you get from it is the satisfaction. If you are a consumer, okay, we are talking about the utility that you get from consuming. If you are a firm, a business owner, we are talking about the profit that you get from whatever choice that you make in your business line. Okay, so that's the benefit, the gain that you get from doing something. And then the cost is what you have to sacrifice, what you have to give up before getting something. Okay, so you are going in for something. Definitely you are losing something, you are gaining something. When should you actually go for that thing? You should know that the benefit should outweigh the cost. So we'll look at that. And then most choices too are made at the margin. If we say a choice is being made at the margin, then we don't just compare benefit to cost, but then we do it systematically and incrementally. If you increase your activity by 1, what is going to be the extra cost that you get? What will be the extra benefit that you gain? That is where we actually know whether we are going to make that choice or not. Just increase the activity by 1. If it's consumption, if you increase your consumption by 1 unit, what is going to be the additional cost that you have to incur? What is going to be the additional satisfaction that you have to gain? So you compare the two before you move on to that next step. If you are firm to, now you want to produce an extra unit of whatever good or service you are producing, so you have to hire more labor. Now, if you hire an additional labor, what is the cost that you have to incur on that labor? What is the benefit? And the benefit is going to be the addition, the extra output that you produce. So you compare these two. That's what we're saying. It is being done at the margin. So we normally compare the marginal benefit and then the marginal cost of undertaking an activity. Okay, so we will look at that one too. And then lastly, choices respond to incentives. As I said earlier, the incentives are the things that will either encourage or discourage. So it's like a trigger. We are buying a fuel for 10 cedis per liter. Now there's an increase in the price of fuel. That's an incentive. It is triggering something. Are we going to buy more fuel? Are we going to buy less? So the choices that we make, they respond to incentives. So let's take them one after the other. Okay. I hope we are together.
Yes.
Okay. Now the first one is that a choice is a trade-off. Okay. Now initially we said we made choices because of scarcity. Okay, because of scarcity, we have to make a choice. And making a choice means that you are selecting from alternatives. You have different ones that you are picking from. Okay, because of scarcity, you have to make a choice, and we make choice. My Zoom lasts for 40 minutes, and it's just a basic account. So after 40 minutes, it will go off. We have to reconnect again if we are not done. Okay. Right, and then we need to understand that whatever choice we make, there's an opportunity cost, because you have to sacrifice something before you make, or before you go in for another thing. So any choice that we make, you know you are picking something instead of another thing. That's why we are saying we have to see the choices as trade-offs. Okay, so the trade-off is just like an exchange. You are giving up one thing in order to get something else. You sacrifice one and then you get the other. Okay, so whatever choice you make, we can't think of a choice that we don't sacrifice something. If you go to bed and you wake up, it's a choice. You are now up. You are sacrificing whatever rest you were having. You are going to school. It's a choice. You sacrifice some earning. You could have been working. You sacrifice the earning. You have to pay tuition fees. You sacrifice that money that you could have used for something. And so whatever choice that we make, there's an exchange. There's a trade-off. Okay, that we have to, something that we have to forgo. That's what we are saying. Choice making should be seen as a trade-off. Okay. And then we look at rational choices. When do we say that a choice is rational? So to the individual, we have a rational choice. If you use all the available resources, currently, these are the resources that I have. I want to make a choice. If you use all these resources in order to achieve the main objective of that choice making, it means you've made a rational choice. Okay, you are using all that you have, all the information you have, the time you have, the mind that you have to make that choice. So if you are able to make that choice and you are able to actually achieve the reason why you wanted to make the choice, then yes, you actually made a rational choice. Okay, but we'll summarize this. We will see that for you to make a rational choice, you have to compare the marginal benefit to the marginal cost. Okay, so your choice will be considered as rational. Now, you see, in a concern, there's this assumption called ultra-rational homo economicus. Econs assumes that the economic units are very rational. They only make rational choices. Now, it's an assumption. It's a very strong assumption. If you come to the real world, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. The assumption tells us that if you are a consumer, you only consume to maximize your satisfaction. That is all. You only consume to maximize yourself. But then if you come to the real world, some individuals do things not because they want to maximize their satisfaction. Maybe they are even thinking about others, not themselves. But then there's an assumption that if you are a consumer, you consume just to maximize your satisfaction. If you are a firm, you are a producer, you only exist to maximize profit. So whatever choice that you make, it has to be rational. You are using labor, capital, buildings and all that to do your production. You need to make sure that you are maximizing your profit. If not, you are not making a rational choice. Okay, but then we have NGOs. People produce goods or services without actually thinking about the profit. But then there's an assumption that we hold in economics that we make rational choices. So if you are able to use all the resources that you have to make the choice, and then for you to achieve whatever objective, the reason that you actually wanted to make that choice, then it means that was a rational. So as I said earlier, before you can make a rational choice, you compare your cost to your benefit. Okay, the cost of the choice making and then the benefit of that choice making. So what is a benefit? Benefit is what you gain. Okay, what you gain if you are a consumer, the benefit of your activity should be the satisfaction there, the utility that you gain. If you are fair, it should be the profit that you get. If you are a government, the benefit you get from your choices should be, you should be concerned about the societal welfare of your people. Okay, that should be whatever choice you make. You should be concerned about the benefit that your people are going to get, their welfare. Is it going to improve their welfare? So whatever activity that you do, okay, the satisfaction that you get from that activity is the benefit. Okay, and then the cost is what you actually give up, what you sacrifice. In economics, we have the concept of opportunity cost. Every activity has a cost. Every choice has a cost. Even if you don't pay a physical cost, there's this hidden cost, what you call the opportunity cost, that thing that you sacrifice. Okay, maybe you have to buy a shoe, you have to buy a spectacle. You bought the shoe, you sacrifice the spectacle. So the spectacle will be the opportunity cost of buying the shoe, apart from the price of the shoe that you actually paid for. So in economics, there's always this cost there. Okay, even if we don't see a monetary cost, the opportunity cost is always there. So before you can actually make that rational choice, you have to actually compare your cost to your benefit. But then we say that people actually make their decisions at the margin. Okay, they do it at the margin. What do we mean by choosing at the margin? What it means is that you make your choice by comparing all the alternatives, all the.
I have a question.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So my question is basically centered on the opportunity cost you mentioned and the idea of trade-off that you mentioned. So My understanding of trade-off is that trade-off, if, as you said, we're having class, so I've given up something before having the class.
Yeah.
That's a trade-off. And then we're talking about the opportunity cost. What's the cost that you give for doing something? What's the two the same? What are the difference? What's the distinction?
Now, the trade-off that you are making is actually the opportunity cost. So, for example, the time issue, okay? Now, you could have used your time to maybe watch a movie. So here, the trade-off that you are doing here is you are giving up the movie and then you are having this lesson, okay? So the movie that you have sacrificed is what we call the opportunity cost. So the trade-off is in the action, but then the opportunity cost is the actual want that you have sacrificed. So I am making a choice. I need to do an exchange. I can watch a movie and then I can be in this lesson. Okay. As soon as I choose the lesson, there's a trade-off. I've traded off the movie, and we call the movie the opportunity cost. You understand? So what you are giving up is what we call the opportunity cost. By you giving up is what is meant by you
Trade-off. Okay.
exchange or making a trade-off. Is that
okay? Yeah.
Right. So we're talking about making choices at the margin. So you do that by comparing all the alternatives, all the ones that you have systematically and incrementally. You see, I said we don't just compare benefit and cost, but then we try to increase our activity by 1 unit. Then we look at the extra cost that we have to incur for that extra activity. And then we look at the extra benefit that we get from that extra activity. That's why they are saying that it has to be done incrementally. So you increase the activity by 1, and then what is the extra benefit? What is the extra cost? That is what we actually compare. So when you increase your activity by 1 unit, the cost you incur there is called the marginal cost. And the benefit you incur there is called the marginal benefit. So these are the two that we have to compare. Okay, so the marginal cost is the cost of what? A 1 unit increase in an activity. You have increased your consumption by 1 unit. What is the extra cost you incur? You've increased your production unit by 1. What is the extra cost that you incur? That's what we call the marginal cost. Okay, so what you have to actually give up in order to get 1 extra unit of your activity. And then the marginal benefit is the extra benefit that you gain when you increase your activity by 1. Okay, what are you actually getting by increasing your activity by 1? So if you are increasing your consumption by 1 unit, what is the marginal utility? Okay, the extra utility, extra satisfaction that you are getting. If it's production, what is your marginal product? If you increase your production by 1, what is the marginal product? If you increase your labor by 1, what is the marginal product that you are getting from that increased production activity? So we compare the marginal cost and then the marginal benefit before we make the rational choice. So for any economic agent to make a rational choice, you have to compare marginal benefit